What is different about your product?
You got a story to tell. Something gonna connect to somebody else.
How to actually run a business versus having a vision for a business.
A lot of people come to me and they say they're scared to take that next leap.
Visual design is always going to be driven by the vision.
And I just was like, how do I do this?
What am I adding that they don't have?
Hey, brand builders, ready to take your brand to the next level? I'm Dana Ammons, and welcome to the Brand Blueprint. Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of Build a Brand. I'm your host, Dana Ammons, and today marks the beginning of an exciting journey. Over the series, we'll be creating a brand from scratch, guided by the Brand Blueprint's team of experts, show guests, and contributors' recommendations and advice. Our focus for this venture? The vibrant world of hair care. In this inaugural segment, we dive deep into vision boarding and brainstorming, tackling the critical need states in the hair care market. Our team brings a wealth of experience in this category, and we've pinpointed length retention as a key benefit we aim to address. Before we get started, I want to make sure I introduce this great panel of guests and team members that we have today. And I want to start with our founder, Aisha Crump. Aisha, could you please introduce yourself and let the audience know a little bit about you and what you have done in the consumer products and beauty space?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dana, for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this process and this new podcast. I am Aisha Ceballos Crump, and I am a beauty entrepreneur. I've spent over 20 years in the beauty space in every aspect, from being a founder, engineering, product development, manufacturing, sales, marketing, you name it, I've done it. But what actually tickles my fancy and makes me the most excited is the innovation and product development. So I'm really excited to be a part of this. I went through this process while I created the two brands that I founded, Honey Baby Naturals and Botanica Beauty. And, it's really the heart of any brand is really in the quality of the product and the vision and the innovation that you bring to any brand.
No, great point. And as you also being a chemist by formal training and having a lot of background in the actual production of many of these products, can you talk a little bit about how the vision for a product in terms of the features, the benefits, the things that product actually delivers, how do you translate that into actual product, qualities? How do you talk to that filler or that 3PL to get them to kind of bring those, qualities that you've envisioned to the forefront?
So it's never going to happen on the first try. That's the biggest thing to know. When I start developing a product, usually I dream about it. I know this is crazy. I keep a notepad by my bed. I own 200 domains. I come up with ideas all the time. And then some of those just stick out at you and you're like, oh my God, that's it. Aha. But when I know that, like, say for instance, with the leave-in conditioner, the first thing that I'm going to do is I get a whiteboard. Back in the day, it was just post-it boards, the paper ones. And I go through and I say product features, benefits, claims, and attributes. So, you're going to have a quadrant where we're thinking about, because people think that benefits and features are the same thing. Attributes are going to be the reality, how it feels, how it's dispensed, what it's, is it a spray? Is it a liquid? Is it, what's the viscosity? What's the fragrance? And then the claims are there any special fairy dust ingredients or ingredients that I'm going to use as my hero product? And then the benefits, is it anti-frizz? Is it going to be conditioning, moisturizing? Is it a leave-in? And then, these are things. And from those four quadrants, when I start, the creation of a brand is how I come up with all my copy, with my nomenclature, with my name. I typically don't even name a product until I've come up with all these things to make me realize, okay, like even for me, the first product I created was Not My Honey Instant Detangler. And it's a leave-in conditioner that's lightweight. And I didn't even come up with a name until I realized, okay, this is really more of a detangler. It's going to have hella slip. It's going to be lightweight. And so I'm thinking as a mama, as I'm doing hair in the kitchen, not my honey, but a play on words because the key ingredient was honey. So I always like create this vision board. I'm always thinking about these 4 things and these 4 areas. So as we get into this exercise, you know, if we can kind of structure it in that way, I think we're going to have this new product nailed.
That is great input. Now, Cataanda, you and Eloise both have a lot of expertise in understanding how to make vision into reality in terms of those product benefits. Where would you guys start in terms of figuring out what specific benefits we want to put in this particular product?
My thing is to have the flexibility. Do not get so set in stone. Flexibility is key. Communication is key, like amongst the team that you're working with or amongst the people that you're putting this product in front of. Even consumer testing is very, very, very important because consumers style their hair. They use products as they use it on themselves. So being flexible, bringing in people that have different perspectives, different backgrounds, different positions within how this is going to hit the market. Marketing teams, products development, labs, chemists, like your communication needs to be open. So that's what I would say. Working on so many different teams, we were always more successful when we were all open for a change and open for,
New ideas.
New ideas, different ways of doing things.
I'll jump in and say that on my end, as the graphic designer, I think it's really important to keep track of the fact that the visual design is always going to be driven by the vision. Especially now in 2024, you have so many ways and possibilities and tools to be able to create honestly stunning visuals. Like you have AI tools, you have freelancers in your back pocket, you have agencies, everything. So there are a bunch of ways to create really good designs, really good visual brands, but none of those designs mean anything if you don't have a vision backing it. So you can create the nicest visuals, but if you don't have a vision for a story that you're trying to tell or a reason that you're doing the work, then it doesn't matter how nice your brand looks, how nice your logo is, what colors you chose. You really need to have the vision driving the visuals instead of the other way around.
And it's a great point. Eloise and Aisha mentioned this earlier because she said, look, I don't even potentially pick a name on the front end, right? I go through my vision work without picking a name. And Eloise, you made a great point that you have to find a way to kind of remain fluid right in that early stage so that you don't get kind of tunnel vision and decide, oh, this logo is really dope or this color combination is really cool and I'm just going to do everything around it. All of a sudden you lose, right, your direction instead of the vision being about the brand and the product you're creating. And now it's become around the visual or the creative process. And so, Eloise, can you give the audience just some quick tips on how to vision board in this particular example? And I know, we use Milanote and other, really, cool tools to do it. But just talk in general, the vision boarding process. Aisha's done it. Cataanda, maybe you guys can kind of share some ideas on how to narrow that vision down to one really tight, concise view of what that brand should be.
Sure. I think on one hand you have what Aisha suggested, which is the old school method. You have the whiteboard, you have the Post-it notes, everything. I think that a lot of
you call me old school.
Yeah. Hey,
just the method.
There's a big age difference here, FYI. I like everything still on paper.
I mean, honestly, I prefer things on paper as well. My point was just, in general, I think a lot of these big ideas tend to start in one person's head, but it's impossible to map out a proper plan from your own head. So the first step is always getting it on paper, on a visual board. And it doesn't have to be on paper. As Dana said, we as a team tend to use Miro, we use Milanotes, we use like team programs basically that allow us to all be looking at the same board and working on the same board at the same time. But there's always, the busting out the chalkboard, the whiteboard, all of this as ways to do it. I think the first step is always, taking it out of your brain and putting it somewhere where you can look at it, you can have other people look at it, because that's when, as Cataanda said earlier, it's like you need to have, somebody with an outer vision, a licensed cosmetologist, a licensed hairdresser in this case. You need to have somebody coming in and going, okay, I see that your idea is valid, you know, it's valuable. And sometimes in your head, it seems a lot more brilliant and visionary than it does once you put it on paper. And once you can see that, that's, you have something to work from, you know?
Kristen, talk a little bit about, from your data and insights expertise, how would you validate the vision of your product before going to that very critical next step of actually trying to produce the product, just to confirm that your vision is actually somewhere in the range of consumer, desire and acceptability?
Sure. So before that, I would like to make a parenthesis. I like to add
Yep.
something, because you're gonna get from me that called business thinking, and something that sometimes happens when you are envisioning your brand and your product, seeing your designs and your brand name, etc., is that sometimes people fall in love with their products. And I am gonna be really harsh with this, but people don't care about your product, they care about their needs and problems. So everything that you do from like now on, that you are just beginning, should be customer focused. This is something really important, because at the end, people are not going to buy your product because of how much you love it and you like it and you how much effort you put in it. It's
Great point.
because they are going to need that product. And now, going to your question, the very basic thing that you should do is try to search for trends, see that the market in which you are going to be working in is actually growing. There's like this increase in expectations, demand. Maybe there is some like behavioral trend that is it's really popular right now. Like, for example,
Mhm.
and this later, like natural components in your products,
Yep.
or being sustainable, etc. So this is crucial. You should know that the market you're going in is actually growing. You don't want to go into a dying industry.
This goes to another question I want to go back to Aisha and Cataanda on, and that's ingredients and how that relates to the perception around your product quality and price, right? Because there's a debate in the category about products being very expensive, and ultimately, do those expensive or more expensive products deliver on their stated benefits? And then there's this trend of super ingredients and new oils and new additives that can do different things for your hair. Talk to me and the audience a little bit about this ingredient trend, and how what you put in your product can actually shape the vision and the perception of the quality and the price point your product should command.
Again, caution is, when you made that statement, is do your homework, do your research, see what the buzzwords are, avoid certain things, avoid certain ingredients. But I just think that this industry is really, a lot of brands are set up, to fail. And so for me, as I was developing my products, my knowledge and the knowledge from the consumer was, okay, we're not going to use parabens. We know factual the effects of parabens. We're not going to use phthalates. We know factual. And we're not going to use any petrol-derived chemicals, not because they're harmful, but because they sit on your hair and they don't moisturize the hair. So these were conscious decisions that I said, when I did my 4-quadrant whiteboard, I said, no,
Yep.
no, 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 no. But then I decided, I also took it further, and I said, I want natural colorants. Puerto Rican people use a natto seed to put some sazon and flavor and color in their rice. So I'm going to use it in my ingredients. So I think
Right.
that, as you're developing this product, let's say the things you don't want to have because of the research, Christian, we found that phthalates have negative connotation. We found that these things. And then let's say, what are the positives? Now I'm going to say I'm using natural colorants. Now I'm going to say that I'm using these vegetable-derived proteins and so forth. So I think as you're researching ingredients, do your homework, find out. And, one thing Cataanda said was interesting is use a scientist to validate things, because, man, as I was working behind the scenes, people would say the craziest things, like, I want this conditioner to take me to Mars and back.
Yeah.
I want a water-based conditioner that's completely see-through, but it gives you the best conditioning ever. Sorry, it's some things that are not possible,
Right. That are not possible.
So there's reality and there's
Yep.
fact. So the basis of a starting point for me always is take a product as a benchmark. There's nothing wrong with benchmarking. What is the best leave-in conditioner that I know works for this? That's a cream base, that's a gel base,
Correct.
it's a water base, okay? You take a benchmark, what about it can be improved? What ingredients, as Christian would say, are hot? What delivery systems are hot? And the people don't know there's knowledge and free things available out there from chemical suppliers, the people that actually make the chemicals that go into our products, and they substantiate your claims. A great example for me is I use an alternative to silicone that actually gives you higher refractive index, better slip, better shine, and there's no silicones involved in it, but I can use the data from the company that I bought the chemical from because they already validate the claims. So if you're a small startup company,
Aisha,
okay.
Not to interrupt you, that is an important point that I don't think a lot of people in the space, especially new founders, understand about claims. Let's just double click real quick, because I think this is a really important point that some people get into trouble, right? Jumping out with a new product that they are making claims about that they have not tested. And so for the audience, I want to just quickly clarify, when you're making a claim on a product, it is a statement, a declarative statement that the product will deliver a certain benefit to the consumer that has to, by legal doctrine within the U.S., has to be tested before it can actually be made as a legal claim. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of products in the beauty category alone that have untested claims attached to the product or packaging. And so I don't want anybody watching to say, well, what are you talking about, Dana? I use such and such, and they say they can do this or that. It doesn't mean that the product can't be sold. There are a lot of products being sold on shelf that are making claims that have not necessarily been tested and vetted fully. So talk a little bit about how founders can potentially avoid this, because I know both of you guys say hire a scientist, but I don't know what that looks like. Hire a scientist. Where am I gonna find a scientist?
It's funny, all those claims, they are going away because guess what? The FDA in 2021 in January now regulates the beauty and cosmetic industry in the United States of America. 2024. So up until 2024, this has never been done. It was loosely regulated. You couldn't make claims of growth of anything medical, anything below the dermis. You can't make healing, whatever. So all these people that says this product is going to make your hair grow, you are not going to see that anymore because now the FDA is regulating this. You will get fined, you will get sued because claiming organic content has certain, and that goes into, what Christian said with the data. What do you have to do to say it's organic? What do you have to do to say that it's natural? So, again, it's a lot of homework involved in every ingredient, but the benefit of what I'm saying is, if you go down a panel of product this is the chemistry nerd in me. If you go down the ingredient list, the ingredients listed are in order of what percentage they're in the product. So if you see an ingredient that's high on the list and you want to learn about it, you can Google that ingredient and find out exactly what it is, what it does, what's the claim, and who sells it. So when you have your benchmark and they have Behino TMS, so it's basically a conditioning agent. You can Google and say, okay, I like the way that this performs. What does this ingredient do? Who sells it? And what claims can I make? You can go to the company that makes it and they say, okay, if you use this as 5%, you can use our claims. You'll never get in trouble with the law if you do it right. I have never been in trouble for claim substantiation and ingredient labeling because I understand that as a chemist. And so that's why I say, getting with a chemist before you come out with ridiculous claims, before you have your labels and your inky list. Like I've seen products that don't even have ingredients on it. And I'm like, how the heck are they getting away with that?
Right.
So, as you're starting your brand and your vision and you want to make claims, there's ingredients that do that. You want slip. You want conditioning. I use a lot of protein, wheat protein for strengthening, for anti-shedding, anti-breaking. So if you can Google these keywords or whatever search engine you're using, because Google is not paying me, and find out which companies sell ingredients that do these things. So as you're formulating, a shampoo is going to be, majority water, but what else does it do? Is it going to be sulfate free? Is it going to be calming? Is it going to be moisturizing? Is it going to be clarifying? These are all questions that you have to ask yourself as you're developing a product. And that right there is going to give you the best result. But again, as we as a team develop this leave-in conditioner, we have benchmarks, we have claims and benefits, and that together is going to give the vision and drive the design, the naming, the nomenclature to create this most amazing product that your consumers are going to love.
I wanted to
Go
say,
on.
I love that Aisha just brought up the fact that there are ways to get around making these claims rather than doing actual claims testing. And you presenting that to the founders that, you know, their budgets aren't quite there to be able to do all those, because those claim testings can be very expensive. I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars, and it gets crazy. So even I never knew that you could reach out to the actual manufacturing company that actually produces this, whatever this ingredient is, to sort of like get more information, but also get their permission to say, hey, if you're going to use 5% of this, then you can use our claims. That's
Yep.
like a big, like, if you guys are watching and you're trying to get some claims,
Yeah, people don't know that.
you
Yeah.
need to use that is like a gym. We're speaking hip hop terms. She just dropped major knowledge on y'all.
This whole claims discussion is on basically the vision board that Aisha brought up. It's one of like the 4 quadrants. And my question was along the lines of, when you started both of your brands, you actually started with a pretty clear vision. Like, this is for people like my children who have multicultured, multi-textured hair. So you already had that vision kind of built in when you started this vision board, when you started these quadrants of claims, features, benefits, and attributes. In our case, we aren't starting with a very clear vision. We are bringing our product idea through all of these stages as we go. So how would you suggest that we kind of start that process of creating a vision board, of creating our quadrant list of benefits, features, attributes, claims, without starting with a very specific vision? Like, I want a product that works for my kids.
Okay, so simple. What we learn in grade school? Who, what, why, when, where? Who, what, why, when, where? Who is the target consumer? Why would they choose this product over something that's already available? Where do we want to sell it? That dictates the price point, the ingredients, you know, how much we can spend on it. And, you know, what is it? Is it a water base? Is it cream base? Is it a spray? Is it, and basically why? So ask yourself those basic questions, and that will help you create the vision of what you're trying to do. And then everything else, like it was funny, Eloise, I know I wanted food grade packaging. That was the weirdest thing. That's why I named it Honey Baby, because what other ingredient has such a recognizable packaging where I wanted to innovate on the shelf where you go in and you see a honey bottle for shampoo. So I kind of had a little bit of the vision from that side as I was doing it. That's why I chose honey. But who, what, why, when, where? I wanted that consumer with multi-textured hair to walk into the store and see the differentiation and the why, because my products are the best. They work the best. Where? I didn't want to sell in retail, so it had to be brand visibility, differentiation, and then what, you know, obviously my my ingredient story and my claims and my background in science really helped me develop it. So as we're doing this, that's the first simple questions you learn in grade school that I'm going to ask, and that'll help you create the vision and the business plan for that specific product. I have 2 conditioners. I have a cream base. It's a gel cream, which is not my honey, which is my first. And then I listened to the consumers and they said they wanted a spray conditioner. And Cataanda, you'll laugh at this one, because I am a stubborn chemist and I have vision outside of vision. I created a milk and honey leave-in conditioner that's 1/3 oil, 2/3 conditioner, and it sits on the shelf. I won like numerous innovation awards, but I wanted to create something that delivered oil and water and conditioning in one product. And so I tested my chemist. I tested my background. It took me over a year, but I got what I wanted. I got a milk and honey product that sat on the shelf. You shake it up, you spray it, it works, and it delivers the right amount of oil droplets in a water-based emulsion. So again, you can think outside the box. That's where innovation is born. If you just create another leave-in conditioner, you're just like everyone else sitting on the shelf. What is different about your product that is going to make that consumer want to buy it and then keep buying it and returning to buy it from you? And so again, I had a leave-in conditioner. It was cream-based. It was great, but some of the girls with lighter textures that wanted it for blowout, so forth, they asked for it. I listened to my consumer, like Christian said, and then I challenged myself and my chemistry background to come up with something that had a unique delivery and value point. I was the first one to create that oil water emulsion on shelf, and now you see it everywhere.
Yep.
There's one thing that you said that really stuck out to me, which is it took 1 year for you to go from that vision to the product through all the testing. So right now we're on the vision capsule. So my question is, for people who are watching this and who are at the very beginning of their process of creating their brand, their products, whatever, do you think that 1 year is like the reasonable assumption of time it should take them to go from vision to like first sale or 10th sale? Or is that just because you were very interested in all the extra testing?
Well, that one I already had a brand and I was making money. So that was just like my second. I had 7 products. That was the 8th product in the collection. So for the first product, and I know this seems aggressive, but I'm really good at what I do. And as a, someone who help and consult, I've launched brands in 6 months. And it just depends. One, if you know where to source, if you know where to get packaging is the hardest thing. If it's custom or you're buying stock packaging, what ingredients, do you have your manufacturer in place? Do you know how to register your barcodes? Do you know where you're going to, regulatory? So aggressively, if you have the right consultant, the right team, you can do it in 6 months, but a year is more realistic from start.
And that, you know what? That's
launch.
A good point, Aisha, because it ties back to the advice you gave earlier about the business plan side versus the creative and the vision side, right? Like, so I think better said for our audience, if you have your business plan together, you understand some of those things like sourcing and testing and supply chain, then you can get to market faster. But I think, Eloise, you made a great point earlier I want to double click on for our audience, which is not everybody starts with a clear vision of where they want to go with the product. Some people start from a place of, hey, honey is an ingredient I'm passionate about, and I am going to build a brand around honey. Some of us come into the space like we did when we left high school and got ready to go to college and didn't really know what we wanted to do with our lives. Didn't want to, and that was definitely me. Left and went into college, didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do when I got there. And I would advise the audience to follow the advice of the panel in that if you don't have a specific area that you have a vision to innovate in, then do your research, as Christian advised, around what is the consumer currently asking for in the category that's not there. And you can find those answers on social media. You can find them on Google searches just by exploring the category and trying to understand, is there a hot ingredient or is there a hot trend that you can take a part of and create something to ride that trend or that ingredient. So really great points from the panel. Really, really appreciate the discussion today. And I really, really appreciate Aisha coming on the show and contributing. I think we will be stealing that who, what, when, why, and where phrase from you. And that will be rebroadcast as one of our brand blueprint trusted pieces of advice. I really think you dropped a lot of jewels on the call today. And I hope that our viewers get a chance to really watch this and fuel it in full and enjoy all of the advice given. So we want to, again, thank Aisha Crump for such an exciting conversation today. We look forward to actually having her as a recurring contributor. We're very fortunate in that she is going to make herself available to us throughout the season to come back on and hopefully participate in some additional panel segments and discussions.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
I appreciate it and I'm excited to be part of the process.
Joining us today are 3 pivotal members of our podcast team. Cataanda James, who leads our social media and community engagement and is also our co-host, Eloise Lenoir, our creative design director, and Christian Ampurel, our data and insights wizard. They're here to pool their knowledge and help shape the future of this brand. Let's join the team in action. Those of you listening for audio, make sure you go out to our website, www.thebrandblueprint.biz, and check out the video of this particular segment as well, so you can follow along with the vision board we're using. We do use Miro as a vision board tool. There's a lot of great tools out there, including Milanote and a couple of other platforms. And you find that information on the resources tab on our website. So Cataanda, as we jump into this vision boarding session, one of the things we've talked a lot about is what are some of the key need states that consumers in the hair care segment are looking to solve for. And one of the key areas we identified was length retention. But I think there's some misunderstanding about length retention and what actually length retention is and how to best achieve it. So can you explain to us, in your expertise, a little bit more about length retention and how we should approach that from a product ideation standpoint?
So length retention pretty much is you're retaining the length of your hair. Your hair grows from the root, from the hair follicle, from the scalp. It's constantly growing. not unless you have other issues like, scalp disorders and autoimmune diseases and things like that. However, all of our hair is constantly growing, but we're not all necessarily retaining the length. So when you get into the conversation of retaining the length, it is speaking to the length of your hair or the strands that you actually see that have already emerged from the scalp. A lot of times you hear people, oh, I want my hair to grow, want my hair to grow, want my hair to grow, but they don't realize their hair is constantly growing. They're just not retaining the length.
So on that point, let me ask you this, all three of you. Should we swap length retention out for the purposes of this show and the content with a different concept? So should we focus on hair growth and then just back into
because
that?
If I answer the question for hair growth, there's no product
that can grow your hair.
No. That's the
Right.
whole point.
And I think we've covered already that is already like way too. Everyone's in the hair growth already. Like if I open Instagram, it's all here's the magic oil that my grandma made to grow my hair. Like I don't really see that as a viable product niche.
Because where I was going with it is I want to make sure that we clearly drive to some sort of aha, this is kind of the path we want to go, or this is the benefit that we are trying to deliver on. So, and that's why I was thinking if length retention is becoming too complex of a concept for us to clearly and simply explain, should we pick another another key tension or key need in hair care that's easier for everybody to get? Like you mentioned earlier, the over manipulation and over dyeing of hair, some of those things just cause damage, period. So maybe should we back it?
Retain the length when you're not doing those things. I think you guys are thinking too much into it. Retaining, length retention is keeping what's out of your hair. And when Eloise asked the question, split ends and things like that, there's products that you can use to help you retain the moisture and to help with hydration so that you're retaining this length. If your hair is super dry, you're not going to be able to retain it. You're either going to have to chop it all off or it's going to break off on you anyway. So I think the thinking is that it's not really complex when you think of length retention. You're just keeping this hair. My hair is my curls. They're long. I'm keeping it because of the way that I'm caring for it. I'm keeping it because of the products that I choose to use continually, in an ongoing basis. I'm trimming and cutting my hair as I should. I'm retaining all of this length here. But if I don't do those things, my hair is still going to grow from the hair follicle, but I'm not going to be able to retain it.
I think I fully understand the concept. I think where we're struggling and where I'm a bit concerned in terms of how it's going to translate to the viewing audience is that length retention as a concept and a phrase is fairly new versus hair breakage, right? Or unhealthy hair. So I think broadly what we're calling length retention, it could look like, to your point, for some people, it could look like, yo, I just need to deal with my split ends. I constantly have split ends, right? And and what you're saying is, hey, if you do these things, you can essentially retain your hair through good, healthy kind of regimens, right? And that's where I'm going, is that a product? I'm wondering I guess that's where I'm challenging our conversation is, where I thought maybe we had a product that was kind of clear cut. I'm almost now maybe that's still length retention is still too broad of a need state, and we need to drill down even further to maybe split ends, right? To the specific issue. What is your issue that's preventing you from retaining length?
I'll just jump in on this because I've heard the words length retention for the first time today, and in my head, it's already connected, because my hair doesn't appear to grow that fast, which annoys the crap out of me. I watch all of those YouTube, Instagram videos on homemade oils, rosemary infusion, everything on how to grow my hair. But at the same time, I've seen the education saying okay, there's no way to actually grow my hair. If the reason that my hair isn't growing is because I'm constantly having to cut off my split ends, or I'm not taking care of it properly, or I don't have the right products that are giving it moisture and protecting it, then for me, that's the kind of products I want to hear about. And I'm going to stop trying to invest in random infusions to put on my scalp. So for me, I heard this concept for the first time today. And for me, it's oh, I want longer, stronger hair. that's in length retention. So I think it
Yeah.
makes sense personally.
That right there, exactly, Eloise. Longer, stronger. So when you look at brands that have products that say longer, stronger, or 4 times longer in 5 weeks, they are talking about length retention. They're not talking about hair growth.
Okay, team. Before we go any further, I would love for Eloise and Cataanda to take our audience through our brainstorming session.
So we have here the problems to solve as it relates to length retention would obviously be length retention. We called that out before in our previous brainstorm. Split ends, as Eloise previously spoke to, regarding how do I have to stop cutting my hair and getting rid of the split ends. That relates to length retention. So those are 3 problems to solve. We have hair growth here, but as we spoke earlier about the differences between hair growing and keeping the length retention, it could be relevant as how some people think about length retention, but it's not really like a benefit because we're not going to grow your hair. The next section is consumer pain points. And we have a lot here that actually pertain to length retention. Not healthy enough. When your hair is not healthy enough, you're obviously not going to be able to retain the length. Hair damage, include that because that's pretty much having your hair not healthy enough. Split ends is here again. Hair not growing is a byproduct to the hair growth on the other section, but we're speaking to length retention, so we'll sort of leave that out. We'll get to that later because scalp care is involved in length retention.
Now, one thing to note for our audience and why this is an important process that Cataanda and Eloise are taking you through is that you will, in your process of ideating on which consumer pain points you want to address with your product, you will quickly realize that there are multiple pain points in any particular category that you can go after, and you can't cover them all. And so what Cataanda is doing is actually identifying the consumer pain points that have symmetry between each other so that an ultimate product that comes from this particular exercise will be multi-benefit. It is able to potentially address multiple benefits that have similar outcomes and similar causes. And so I'll let the team continue to take you through this, but it's just important to note that you can't deliver on every single consumer pain point or possible solution with one product. So you do have to get focused, and this is a great way to do it.
And actually, before we move on, I have a question. In consumer pain points, we have one that says gym days equals overwashing and dry hair. And I'm wondering if we just take the overwashing as one of the pain points, does that also kind of speak to length retention, like your hair being over dry because maybe you shampoo it too often? Could that be something that we use as one of our pain points?
That is definitely a pain point, and that's where I was going to next, Eloise. So it's great call out, and you totally understand length retention, and I love it. So yeah, gym days, overwashing, and dry hair, that is definitely a pain point for potential prevention of length retention. Let's move along to unique value prop. So with length retention, obviously you're going to need quality ingredients. We're going to need moisture and hold because moisture actually allows you to retain the length. It's the opposite of dry hair. The next one that we have, it's in all of these, length retention.
I guess that's why we chose it as our vision for our product, is because we already have it lined up on all of our segments.
Yes, and one benefit that a lot of people look to is shiny hair, and shiny hair actually lets you know that the hair is healthy. So the ingredients that we are going to include in this product will then it will promote shiny hair, and then your hair will obviously feel soft or smooth, and those are also attributes of healthy hair.
Alrighty.
The next
Moving
section, possible solution. So there is. Go ahead.
Oh no, one thing I was just going to interject there is the unique value proposition portion of this quadrant is identifying potential benefits that we feel we could deliver in a product better than anybody else on the marketplace. It does not mean that it is a unique benefit only to your product. You will quickly find, as you research different benefits that you want to add to your product, they may exist already on the marketplace. That doesn't mean that it cannot be your unique value proposition. It just means that you believe you can deliver that particular benefit better than any of your other competitors.
Yeah. Does that mean that even though we're not necessarily focusing on hair growth, because we've agreed that hair growth is not something that we can change with a product, but the appearance of hair growth through length retention could technically be a unique value prop, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
And
Correct.
I think that's a pretty kind of important one because it's the one that convinced me first. So I'm going to add that in here. So that's the appearance of hair growth. Appearance of hair growth. Please let me not misspell everything while we are filming. Ha ha ha. There we go. All right, moving on.
So moving on, possible solutions. We have here in the unique value prop, appearance of hair growth, but we also have here healthier hair in appearance and feel. So that's a solution. Growth length, we're focusing more on the length side of things. We're now incorporating the question of growth length. That's a fine line for some people in the way that they think of it and the way it's perceived. Hydrating formula. Hydrating formula is a key and necessity that we need to make sure we combat with this product because hydration actually promotes length retention. The next thing is addressing the ends. This could potentially be a product that's only ends focused or mid shaft to ends focused. However, I think we also need to include here a scalp care solution.
Sure, let's put that
Proper, I guess we could call it proper scalp care. And then the next one is unique formulation with long-term moisturization. So not only are we retaining length, we're also retaining moisture in the hair with this product.
Okay. Do you think that leave-in could also work in terms of long-term moisturization, or do we not really want to play around with the leave-in niche?
No, actually, these products are probably going to. You guys can chime in, and we're gonna brainstorm again here. But I believe these products would be a leave-in focus, not necessarily a rinse-out product.
All right. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clear the board for our viewers who are actually watching the video, so we can see specifically the ideas that we're following up on and that we are keeping for our potential product.
Yes.
Let's make this a little bit clearer. And you can see that the problems to solve, which were only really two main problems, split ends and length retention, it doubles for pain point, it doubles for unique value prop, and then it doubles again for the possible solutions. So I think that the quadrant that we are choosing to focus on has a lot of potential for us.
So now that we're at this point, Kristen, this is a perfect example in many cases. If you are operating a larger company, a more established brand, you likely would have started this process with research and data, and then use that to identify this key consumer need. However, we are starting from this process as a small entrepreneur or founder would, and now that we've gotten to the stage of identifying some key benefits and qualities that we want to include in our product, how do we move from here, Christian, to the place of understanding exactly what type of product, conditioner, spray, leave-in, multiple products, one product? How do we make the leap from these benefits and this information to figuring out exactly what products that we actually want to move forward with from a production standpoint?
Well, I think that the first question would be actually to still be talking to the specialist here, because, for example, from a data point of view, I don't really know how or in which type of products this can be applied. We can use for this solution. So we should first sort of narrow the type of products that we can use, and then after that, once we know about those, we can do more research about them. So now I want to ask this to Cataanda again. So, what kind of products should we try to do more research about that can be used to apply or to offer these possible solutions?
That's a great question, Christian. And moving forward, I think with you as the data analyst, I would recommend, and the rest of the team can chime in, that we at least have 3 choices, because there are various textures we can go with. There are various types of lines. Do we want just one single product? Are we going to build upon this one single product and eventually, bring in line extensions? Because honest and truly, one single product is not going to solve all of your problems, but it can help put you on the right track. So there could be a scalp spray, or there can be a hair product that's only recommended for the mid-lengths to the ends of your hair, or the strands of your hair, that would, speak to the split end issue that we want to combat. We could offer like a serum on the scalp, directly to the scalp, and then pull it through to the end. So that would be more of like a root to tip or root to end sort of product here. And there's just various ways we could go. So I think we have to narrow down, and maybe with your data research, we can decide what consumers really are looking to as far as it, comes to things that will help you retain the length, or in their sense, the way that they perceive it, call it out as growing.
What I've done is I've added a new quadrant. I've changed the colors for what I kind of identified on my own as the 3 separate kind of topics in our possible solutions, which were ends, scalp, and hydration, in terms of what we're talking about towards length retention. And so I've created 3 empty new post-it notes for each of those kind of topics, and I was wondering if we could come up with examples, maybe even more than 1 per category, of products that could work for each one of those specific possible solutions.
Sure. This is a great exercise, and I had one quick thought on possible product. Given my understanding of the category and the fact that as we identified in our possible solutions, one direction we could go in is scalp care. And I, in my previous life, worked for Procter & Gamble and managed a brand firmly entrenched in the scalp care category, and that was Head and Shoulders. So I do think that there's a great opportunity for us to potentially mine and produce a scalp care product line that could be featured in both shampoos and conditioners as a possible product. So that would be my suggestion for potential direction we could go in, which is shampoo and conditioner in a scalp collection.
All right, shampoos and conditioners. When I think of scalp care, I do tend to think more of like oils or sprays or something that kind of makes your scalp tingle. Would that be some type of possible product, or is that all in the buzz? Is that not a realistic idea for a product?
No, scalp sprays are very popular, and they are, you get great results from scalp sprays. So scalp sprays can be added there.
All right.
So that's more like a liquid form. I would also include here serum.
For the scalp?
For the scalp, yes.
All right, let's add another box in there. And that's going to be serums.
Okay. And serums can actually dupe for scalp care and also hair care.
Okay. And then on the side of the ends, do we have any possible products that could work in there? Again, for the ends, what I'm most used to is like oils that you use to treat split ends, or that you use to kind of lock in moisture after a leave-in conditioner or a heavy moisturizing day.
So I'd recommend ends or like mid-shaft, typically mid-shaft to ends, because if you address the mid-shaft, then hopefully you're not going to have that split end travel all the way up to the mid-shaft from the ends. So oils, we could do oils. I would recommend, again, the serum, but since we have it in our main category,
We can have it repeated.
there are also sprays too.
Okay. I see that right now, the one that we have repeated across our two possible solutions to products are the sprays and the serums. So maybe right now these seems like the type of thing that we could be using to address the most. What about under specifically to hydration? Is there any specific product that would touch on one of our solutions or one of our issues that we want to address?
Would hair mask be a good one for hydration?
It could be, but hydration starts with a shampoo.
I'm gonna add shampoo there then. Shampoo? I thought hydration was more focused on like conditioners than shampoos.
Shampoo, what do you do when you shampoo your hair? Before
Washing
you
it?
add the shampoo. No, shampoo
Rinse
is
it,
washing.
wet it,
You wet it.
You wet it. And what are you wetting it with?
water.
Exactly. That's your hydration.
Okay. Then would some type of like water-based spray, would that also work as hydration? But would it also speak to that
Moisture.
Curl activator.
Yeah. But would that also be speaking to that length retention though? Because remember, we're focusing specifically on the length retention.
Yes, hydration and moisture speak to length retention.
Water-based
So
spray.
majority, well, all products that are going to actually offer hydration and or moisture retention is going to be water-based. And usually the first ingredient is water.
Okay.
If it's not, then it's not really hydrating because hydration is water. It's just simple.
We're gonna sell water, guys. That's our
Drink
new
your
product
water.
idea. It's just gonna be straight up water.
We're gonna sell
Guys, water
that
for your
filter
hair.
water.
Are there any other types of products or textures or anything that we could add to this list right now before we move on to actual research?
It's a pretty comprehensive list.
What we're doing next.
We don't have cream here.
Let's
So
add a cream.
creams are,
Is a cream for scalp or for ends or for hydration?
it could be for either, depending on the viscosity and the density of the product or the texture, the consistency. You don't want to apply a thick cream to the scalp, but there are some products that are creamy, light creamy, loose creamy, however you want to describe it, that you start with on the scalp and first do the ends. Some serums are a little tricky. Sometimes they're called serums and I'm like, this is totally a cream. So it just depends.
All right. I think that that's a pretty comprehensive list right now of the types of products that we could be turning to for length retention as far as I've understood it so far. Have I missed anything, Cataanda?
No, this is great. This is a great start.
Alrighty.
All right, brand builders, that concludes our brainstorming session for the Build a Brand segment of the Vision Capsule. We'll be back next capsule with market research as we continue building our brand. Wow, what a journey we've embarked on together with the first capsule of the Brand Blueprint. I'm Dana Ammons, and I want to thank you all for joining us as we laid the groundwork for creating a standout brand. From our deep dives with industry leaders like Aisha Crump and Daniel Victor, to our interactive Build a Brand segment, we've covered some groundbreaking territory. As we wrap up this first capsule, I want to encourage each of you to revisit the insights and inspirations we shared. If you haven't already, head over to YouTube first, then Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts to catch up on any of the episodes you've missed. Every session is packed with valuable lessons that are essential as you build your own brand journey. And look, you don't have to stop there. Follow us on all of our social media channels and visit our website at thebrandblueprint.biz for even more bonus content. So next up, we're diving into the exciting world of market research and consumer insights in Capsule 2. And trust me, you do not want to miss what we have in store. We will uncover how understanding your market can dramatically transform your brand strategy and success. So keep watching, keep listening, and keep engaging. Thank you again for being part of this incredible start. Like, share, and subscribe to the Brand Blueprint on all of your favorite platforms. We're everywhere you need us to be.